Hey, Clint Byars here. I just wanted to give you a little bit of commentary on my latest blog that I just put out that's called You Don't Have to Prove Anything to Anyone But Yourself. You know, I've heard that quote before for years, especially in sports, being an athlete, all the different kinds of sports. You're challenged with to fight the enemy within, so to speak. You're challenged with, your biggest enemy is your mindset. Fight your laziness. Get over whatever it is those internal blocks are, and then you learn about Christianity and the path of transformation that we're on. That we are transformed by the renewing of our mind, and that spiritual warfare is really all about capturing your thoughts, bringing all those thoughts captive to the obedience of Christ. In other words, getting your thoughts to obey and agree with what Christ was obedient to and what he accomplished in his obedience. So you put all that together, and this idea of you don't have to prove anything to anybody but yourself, that concept just really stuck out to me this week in the midst of this coronavirus outbreak that's going out and how people are responding to it. I was speaking with someone, and they said that the consumption of, they call them adult websites, but we all know what that means. The consumption of that filth has just risen dramatically because people are stuck at home and they're bored and they're gravitating toward that stuff. And it just made me think, how much guilt and condemnation people must be suffering with right now. People are making bad decisions. There's jokes going around to the internet. I saw someone posted on Facebook. They said, "I need help social distancing from my refrigerator," which is funny. I've seen other people post that they've already eaten all their pandemic snacks. And of course, we know the toilet paper thing going around. So it's interesting that in unusual times, in times of pressure, and I've even heard this about traveling ministers, that some of their greatest temptation happens after a meeting, after they've traveled, they've gone somewhere to speak, they had a great meeting, they had great responses, people were really impacted, people really allowed God to touch them in those meetings, and then they go back home, they go back to their hotel rooms, and then the real battle begins, the struggle begins. And it's in those moments, it's in the moments of the unusual, when things are out of the ordinary, when we're not in our routines, or we have that downtime, to use those opportunities as an excuse to go the wrong way in our hearts and in our minds. So this thing of you don't have to prove anything to anyone, it relates to our choices in those moments. Now, in the blog, I wrote more about taking advantage of the opportunities that you have, not letting other people's mindsets and their expectations of what you should do, and other people, your parents, your boss, your pastors, your friends, your children, all the people in our lives have their expectations of what we should do. People tell me all the time as a pastor what I should preach, what I should be saying, what I should be focused on. And if I took my cues on what other people think that I should be preaching, and I listen, but I listen to the Lord. I listen to what I feel like what God is giving me, and I bring that out weekly and really focus on those things. But all of us have that type of input. So the commentary on the blog is that you're the only one that lays your head down at night and has to deal with those thoughts and deal with those emotions and deal with the fruit of your choices. You're the only one that lives inside of your own head. You're the only one that's dealing with the repercussions and the fruit of whatever it is that you've allowed to be sown into your heart that day. And so, I use this phrase a lot of times in counseling, especially to men, that I'm talking to them about certain struggles that they may be having. And so the phrase is win the day. Win the day. We've heard the term carpe diem, seize the day. I think win the day is more appropriate in certain settings. And that means that, there's a mindset in AA and all the different groups where people are overcoming addictions that, just take it one day at a time. And it's true, life in general should be taken one day at a time, especially when you're seeking to overcome something where you continually fail. Those things where you lay your head down on your pillow at night and all that guilt and that condemnation rises up and creeps in. If you've won the day, then you go to sleep in peace. You go to sleep proud of yourself. And that's what I want to encourage you in. That's what I want to leave you with. Win the day. Make choices, especially when things are crazy right now in our world, and we don't know what tomorrow is going to look like, and we're all watching the news to wondering how our businesses and our lives and our schools and all of that stuff is going to be affected. You know, the healthcare workers, they don't know how long they're going to be subjected to the overrun of the hospitals. All of that uncertainty. Right now, we have very good excuses to make very bad decisions because things are upset right now. Things are topsy-turvy. And the human mindset, the human psychology tends to look for releases, look for things that we can control when things feel like they're out of control. So I want to encourage you in this. Win the day. Pay attention to those little temptations that rise up. And then also on the positive side of that, make decisions where you can be proud of yourself. You know, you don't owe anything to anyone but yourself. Your own heart is waiting for you to be the kind of person that you can be proud of. Now, of course, I'm not talking about your own self-effort, self-righteousness, none of that kind of stuff. I'm talking about living under the power of grace. But you alone have the capacity to make yourself proud of yourself. And you alone have the capacity to make yourself ashamed of yourself. I just want to encourage you. Take some time to meditate. Take some time to pray. Gather a group of scriptures. I have a free resource on my website, clintbyars.com. It's a list of in Christ scriptures. It will walk you through persuading your heart of who you are in your identity in Christ. So when those margins of uncertainty creep in and you have the opportunity to choose to give in to temptation, or you have the opportunity to make a good decision and you walk out of it, and I'm not talking about pride in your flesh, self-righteousness. I'm just talking about you're proud of yourself because in those moments you've chosen to live uprightly. You've chosen to yield to the grace of God. You've chosen to live a life that you can be proud of. I want you to be proud of yourself. You don't owe anything to anyone but yourself. So in this time, make good decisions and win the day. God bless you. Love you guys. Hope that helps.